The clock struck midnight, and Imani Cole stood in the kitchen, her hands trembling against the counter as thunder rumbled. She whispered, "How can a man live with me yet never taste my lips?" Her voice cracked like glass. Marcus Cole's shadow filled the doorway, his smooth espresso skin glowing faintly in the lightning flash. He said, "You should be asleep," but his tone was colder than the storm outside. Imani turned to face him, her deep mahogany eyes burning with hurt. She said, "I'm awake because my heart doesn't rest." Silence grew heavier than the storm. Marcus leaned against the wall, arms folded, his jaw tight. She whispered, "Do you even see me anymore?" He looked away, and the distance between them stretched like an ocean. The refrigerator hummed, mocking her need for warmth. He muttered, "You always want more than I can give." Tears blurred her vision as she said, "A kiss is not more. It's love breathing." The storm cracked louder, mirroring the breaking inside her chest. The kitchen, once their safe space, had become a battlefield where silence killed more than words. Morning sunlight spilled through thin curtains, but Imani's bed was still cold beside her. She stared at Marcus' side of the sheets, untouched, as if his absence were deliberate. She said, "Even his sleep rejects me." The echo of last night's storm still rang in her chest. She rose slowly, wrapping herself in a robe, eyes dull from another restless night. In the kitchen, coffee brewed, but the smell carried no comfort. Marcus entered, his broad frame still guarded, voice flat, as he said, "Long night." Imani replied, "Long marriage." Her words struck sharp, but he only sighed and reached for his mug. Silence wrapped around them again, thicker than the steam rising from the cup. She thought of kisses she had dreamed of. The way love should feel simple. Yet here they were, performing routines like strangers bound by vows. Her reflection in the coffee pot showed a woman cracking quietly inside. Later that afternoon, Imani sat in her car outside the grocery store, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her natural coils framed her face, but her eyes looked like someone else. She whispered, "Where did I go?" She remembered the girl who once laughed freely, who once believed in kisses that healed. Marcus had stolen that girl without meaning to, leaving only this shadow. She rubbed her temples, exhaustion heavy. A knock on the window startled her. Tasha Green, her best friend, leaned down with a bright smile. "Girl, you look like life chewed you up," Tasha said warmly. Imani forced a chuckle, muttering, "And spit me out." The two women shared a look, truth hanging unspoken. Imani wanted to scream her pain, but pride glued her lips shut. That evening, Imani stood at the sink, scrubbing dishes harder than necessary. The sound of clattering plates drowned out her thoughts until Marcus appeared behind her. He said, "You're going to break something." Without turning, she replied, "Something already is." His silence was worse than anger. Water ran over her hands, burning hotter with every second. She wanted him to reach for her, to close the distance with something real. Instead, he leaned against the counter, sipping water like nothing mattered. She slammed a plate into the rack and said, "You think silence saves us, but it kills me more each day." He looked at her briefly, expression unreadable, then walked away. She whispered into the empty kitchen, "Love shouldn't feel like this." At night, Imani sat alone on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, television flickering without sound. She held a photo frame of their wedding, her smile bright, Marcus' arm draped around her. She whispered, "We looked like love then." Her chest ached as thunder murmured faintly outside again. Marcus entered the room, phone in hand, eyes glued to the screen. She asked, "Do you even remember who I am to you?" He didn't look up, only muttered, "Don't start tonight." Tears welled, but she swallowed them back. She placed the photo face down on the table, the sound of glass against wood sharper than her voice. She thought of the kitchen last night, of the silence that screamed louder than rage. She said softly, "If love lives here, it hides from me." The room grew unbearably quiet. Imani sat at her vanity, staring at the reflection that no longer felt like her own. She traced her mahogany skin with trembling fingers, remembering her grandmother's words, "Beauty holds more than love can carry." She whispered, "But what if love never touches it?" The room was silent, except for the faint hum of traffic outside. On the dresser sat her wedding ring, glinting beneath the lamp, more like a shackle than a promise. She remembered the first day she met Marcus, the fire in his eyes, the way his laugh felt like sunlight. She smiled faintly before it disappeared into sorrow. Tasha's voice echoed in her memory, telling her, "You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep him warm." Imani sighed deeply, whispering, "But what else am I, if not his wife?" Tears welled, yet she forced a smile at her reflection. Strength and fragility clashed inside her, a storm she carried alone. Later that morning, Imani sat across from Tasha at a small cafe downtown. The smell of roasted beans filled the air, but Imani's coffee sat untouched. Tasha leaned forward, honey-brown skin glowing in the sunlight, braids framing her determined face. She said, "Girl, I've watched you shrink into shadows for a man who won't even hold you." Imani's eyes watered as she replied, "He doesn't hate me, Tasha. He just doesn't see me anymore." Tasha scoffed, "Not seeing you is worse. You're fire, and he acts like he's blind." Imani whispered, "What if I'm not fire anymore?" The cafe grew loud around them, laughter and clinking mugs, making her pain feel lonelier. Tasha reached across the table, squeezing her hand, saying, "You are love, Imani. Don't forget that." Her voice cracked with sincerity, and Imani clung to the words like a lifeline she didn't believe she deserved. That afternoon, Imani walked through the bustling grocery store aisles, her cart half empty as her thoughts consumed her. She reached for apples, her hand shaking slightly. Memories of her mother flashed, strong, unyielding, telling her never to accept half a love. A man brushed past, muttering an apology, and she startled, clutching the cart as if her body was betraying her resolve. She muttered, "I am not invisible." Yet her voice was softer than the music humming overhead. A young couple laughed nearby, their easy intimacy pressing on her chest like a weight. She whispered to herself, "Once that was me and Marcus." Her eyes grew distant, hands frozen mid-reach. The world kept moving around her while she stood still, a shadow caught in a place she no longer belonged. That night, Marcus came home late, the sound of keys jingling against the door. Imani sat curled on the couch, lights low, blanket wrapped around her shoulders. He muttered, "Work ran late," without meeting her eyes. She said softly, "I didn't ask." Her tone carried more ache than accusation. He sat in his chair, scrolling on his phone, the glow reflecting against his espresso-toned skin. Imani whispered, "Do you ever wonder what we've become?" Marcus exhaled sharply, muttering, "Why can't you just let things be?" Her eyes glistened as she replied, "Because I don't recognize us anymore." Silence followed, broken only by the ticking clock on the wall. She thought of kisses never shared, the emptiness where warmth should live. The air felt heavier than bricks pressing on her chest. Alone again, Imani stepped into the shower, hot water streaming down her back, as if to cleanse the ache inside. Steam filled the bathroom, fogging the mirror. She pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, "I am still here." She remembered childhood scars, her father leaving, her mother telling her to never beg for love. The water mingled with tears she couldn't control. She clenched her fists, whispering, "I deserve more than silence." Her voice trembled but carried fire. She closed her eyes, imagining a kiss she had never felt, the way it should burn and heal all at once. A sob escaped her chest, carried away by the rushing water. In that moment, strength and fragility merged, a woman caught between survival and longing. Imani paced the hallway outside Marcus's office, her chest tight with words unspoken. She whispered, "He builds walls in silence, and I keep begging for doors." She pushed the door open, finding him hunched over paperwork, espresso skin glowing faintly under the desk lamp. He didn't look up, only muttered, "I'm busy." Her voice wavered as she said, "I'm your wife, not a distraction." He finally glanced at her, eyes dark, jaw rigid. "You think love fixes everything, he said coldly. She shot back, I think love is supposed to exist, Marcus. The tension snapped, heavier than the air around them. Her heart hammered as she realized he wasn't just ignoring her, he was running from something. The next evening, Marcus returned late, smelling faintly of cologne not his own. Imani waited by the window, arms folded tightly, storm brewing inside her chest. She said, "Do I even exist in your world anymore?" He stiffened, muttering, "Don't start this." She stepped closer, her voice sharp. "Your silence tells me more lies than your words ever could." His dark eyes flickered with something she couldn't read, fear, guilt, or exhaustion. The room felt like it was collapsing, walls too tight, air too heavy. She whispered, "I'm drowning, Marcus, and you won't even throw me a rope." His lips pressed into a thin line, body rigid, as though even breathing near her was too much. Imani sat across from her mother, Evelyn Cole, at the dining table the next day. Evelyn, black woman, dark chestnut skin, braided crown touched with silver, leaned forward, voice sharp yet tender. "You let this man break you piece by piece," she said. Imani whispered, "Mama, I'm holding us together." Evelyn's eyes narrowed, fire burning in her gaze. "No, he's holding you hostage in silence." Imani's heart clenched, remembering her father's absence, the scars of abandonment. She muttered, "I just wanted something different." Evelyn softened, placing her hand over Imani's. "Different doesn't mean empty, baby. You are worth more than this." Tears blurred Imani's vision, her heart breaking under truth, too sharp to ignore. Later that night, Marcus stood in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. Imani stepped in quietly, catching fragments of his words. "I can't talk about this now." Her stomach dropped as suspicion burned. She said, "Who are you hiding from me?" He froze, espresso skin taut with tension. "It's work," he muttered, but his eyes betrayed him. She whispered, "Work doesn't make a man flinch like he's guilty." The distance between them felt wider than oceans, yet sharper than glass. He turned away, muttering, "You always imagine the worst." She said softly, "Because you never show me the truth." The silence that followed sliced deeper than the storm raging outside. The next day, Imani walked alone through the park, autumn leaves crunching beneath her steps. She muttered, "Every silence is a graveyard of the love I imagined." The sky was gray, wind sharp, but her chest burned hotter than the chill. She remembered Marcus's first touch, how it once made her feel alive. Now his absence was the loudest thing in her life. Tasha called her phone, voice warm and steady, "Don't let him bury you in shadows, Imani." She whispered, "But what if I'm already gone?" Her eyes filled with tears, yet her jaw tightened. Strength and sorrow walked side by side inside her, each step heavy with a decision she wasn't ready to face. Imani rummaged through Marcus' jacket pocket while folding laundry, her hands trembling. A folded receipt slipped out, dated last night, from a restaurant she hadn't been to in years. She whispered, "Who were you with?" Her chest tightened, pulse hammering. When Marcus walked in, his espresso-toned skin flushed with surprise. His eyes darkened instantly. He snatched the slip from her hand, muttering, "You had no right." She said sharply, "I had every right. I'm your wife." His silence screamed louder than denial. Her voice broke as she added, "You couldn't give me a kiss, but you gave someone else your time." The truth hung like a blade between them, cutting deeper with every second of his silence. Later that night, Imani sat on the floor of the bathroom, back pressed against the cold tub. She whispered, "He didn't even deny it." Her breath shook as tears soaked into her robe. The sound of running water masked her sobs. She clutched her wedding ring, pressing it into her palm until it hurt, hoping pain could drown heartbreak. She remembered her mother's warnings. Men who loved with half hearts left women in ruins. Her reflection in the fogged mirror showed a woman undone, stripped of dignity. She whispered, "Am I nothing but his convenience?" The room felt like a confessional, every drop of water echoing the emptiness inside her chest. The next morning, Evelyn Cole stormed into the apartment, eyes blazing, silver streaks in her braids gleaming under daylight. She said fiercely, "I raised you to fight, not to fold." Imani's voice cracked. "Mama, I'm tired of fighting alone." Evelyn leaned close, chestnut-toned face carved with fury and pain. "That man carries secrets, and you know it." Imani's heart thudded painfully as her mother added, "Don't let him turn your silence into chains." The words pierced deeper than any argument Marcus had given. For the first time, Imani realized her marriage wasn't built on love, it was balanced on lies. Her tears fell freely, but her mother's grip on her hand steadied her trembling soul. That evening, Marcus sat alone at the dining table, staring at his phone. Imani entered, her steps deliberate, carrying the weight of betrayal. She said, "You're hiding something from me." He clenched his jaw, espresso-toned skin taut under the overhead light. "Not everything is your business," he muttered. Her chest burned as she said, "When it's my marriage, it's my life. It's all my business." His phone buzzed on the table, lighting up with a name she didn't recognize. Her stomach dropped, voice trembling. "Who is she?" His silence gave her the answer she dreaded, a truth sharper than spoken lies. The room fell into suffocating quiet, broken only by the buzz of his betrayal glowing on the screen. Later that night, Imani stood alone on the balcony, city lights burning below her. The cold wind whipped against her mahogany skin as she whispered, "I thought silence was killing me, but lies are worse." She clutched the railing, trembling as though the truth had knocked her breath away. Behind her, Marcus appeared in the doorway, expression unreadable, words frozen in his throat. She didn't turn to face him. Instead, she whispered into the night, "I don't know if I'm strong enough to stay." Her tears blended with the wind, carrying her pain into the darkness. The city roared beneath them, but the silence between them was louder than the traffic, louder than her breaking heart. Imani stormed into the living room, wedding photo clutched in her hand. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "You gave me years of silence and then lies. Was I ever your choice, Marcus?" He rose slowly from the couch, broad shoulders tense, espresso skin shadowed by the lamp. He said, "You don't know what I've carried." She snapped back, "You never let me carry it with you." Her tears burned hotter than rage. His dark eyes flickered with guilt, but stayed guarded. The room felt suffocating, air heavy with words that could not be taken back. She raised the photo high, then slammed it onto the table. The glass shattered like her hope. Marcus stepped forward, voice raised. "You think love is simple, but you don't know the weight I drag every day." His fists clenched, body rigid. Imani shouted, "Then share it with me, or stop pretending I'm your wife." Their voices clashed, sharp as knives. He muttered, "I was never taught how to love right." She froze, words stealing her breath. "So you punish me for the scars your past gave you." He looked away, jaw trembling, silence confessing more than his lips. Imani's chest rose and fell violently, her heart breaking in rhythm with her rage. The storm outside grew violent, rain pounding against the glass as if echoing their fury. Imani screamed, "You made me question my worth, Marcus." He shouted back, "And I made myself smaller to survive." Their words collided, raw and jagged. She whispered suddenly, "All I wanted was your kiss. One kiss to know I mattered." He froze, espresso-toned face softening, eyes haunted. "I thought if I let myself love you that way I'd drown." Her sob cracked through the roar of thunder. The truth lay bare, ugly and raw, no longer hidden behind silence. Imani collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I begged for crumbs while you hoarded your heart," she said through sobs. Marcus knelt before her, trembling, his hand hovering near hers but never touching. He said, "I wanted to love you fully, but fear turned me into a ghost." Her eyes lifted slowly, tears shining, voice trembling. "You already killed us with your fear." His lips parted, words failing him. The distance between his hand and hers became a chasm neither knew how to cross. The silence after their storm was louder than thunder. Imani stood slowly, voice hollow yet sharp. You had the power to heal me with love, and you chose silence instead. Marcus reached out, whispering, Imani, I'm begging you. Don't leave. She shook her head, eyes fierce through her tears. I don't want to beg for what should be freely given. Her footsteps echoed as she walked toward the bedroom, each step a fracture in their marriage. Marcus sank to the floor, espresso-toned face buried in his hands, the weight of his truth crashing over him. Morning crept in slowly, light spilling across the apartment like a truth too bright to ignore. Imani sat at the edge of the bed, her robe draped loosely, eyes swollen from sleepless tears. She whispered, How many mornings can I wake beside a stranger? The sheets smelled faintly of Marcus, but his warmth had long vanished. He entered quietly, espresso-toned skin washed pale by daylight, shoulders slumped as if carrying a weight he could not set down. He said softly, I never wanted to hurt you. She turned, voice trembling. Yet you did, Marcus. Every silence was a wound. His lips parted, but no words came. The air thickened with finality, a truth she could no longer deny. Love had been swallowed by fear and betrayal. Later that day, Imani walked with Tasha through a quiet park, fallen leaves scattering beneath their steps. Tasha's honey-brown skin glowed in the sunlight, her braided crown catching the breeze. She said firmly, You can't heal him, Imani. He has to want it himself. Imani's voice cracked. I don't even know if I have the strength left to heal me. Tasha stopped, grasping her hand tightly. You've always had strength. You just forgot it in his shadow. Imani's chest ached, but her jaw set with determination. For the first time, she imagined a life not chained to Marcus's silence. She whispered, Maybe freedom is the love I've been chasing all along. That evening, Imani prepared dinner in silence, knife moving rhythmically against the cutting board. Marcus entered, loosening his tie, his eyes weary. He said, We can fix this. She paused, knife mid-air, before whispering, We can't fix what you refuse to build. His jaw tightened as he muttered, You are walking away too easily. She turned, mahogany skin glowing against the kitchen light, voice steady despite her trembling hands. No, Marcus, I stayed too long. His shoulders slumped, eyes pleading without words. She set the knife down, the sound sharp against the board, echoing her decision. Imani packed a small suitcase, folding clothes carefully, as if each piece carried years of memory. She whispered, I gave us everything, and it still wasn't enough. Marcus stood by the dresser, watching helplessly, his espresso-toned face pale under the bedroom light. Don't do this, he said, voice cracking. She looked up, eyes fierce through her tears. I'm not leaving to hurt you, I'm leaving to save me. His hand reached for hers, trembling, but she stepped back, the space between them colder than winter. For the first time she wasn't begging for his love. She was reclaiming her own. The taxi idled outside, headlights cutting through the night. Imani stood at the doorway with her suitcase, her hand gripping the handle tightly. Marcus stood behind her, espresso-toned skin cloaked in shadows, eyes glistening. Imani, he whispered, voice trembling, I never learned how to love right. She turned slightly, eyes soft yet resolute. And I can't keep paying the price for lessons you refuse to learn. A single tear slid down her cheek as she stepped into the night air. The door closed gently behind her, the sound final, the silence afterward deafening. Ethan sat on his bed in the dark, the glow of his phone screen illuminating his tired face. A message draft sat unsent. I'm not okay. His thumb hovered, trembling, but he never pressed send. Instead, he deleted each word until only silence remained. His chest ached as he stared at the blank screen, realizing how much of his life had been spent erasing himself before anyone else could. He whispered, I'm here, but I'm invisible. The words felt heavy, an echo of everything he had carried. The night pressed in tighter, shadows stretching across the walls. His breathing slowed, shallow and unsteady, as if even his body wanted to fade. Yet he stayed seated, alive, but unseen. The room offered no answers, only reflection in the faint glow, a reminder that sometimes survival looked like sitting still in the dark, unspoken and unresolved. The voicemail still lived in his phone, his own voice from months before, trembling and fractured. Ethan played it back, listening to the raw panic of his past self crying, "Please, I don't know what to do." He closed his eyes, ashamed and broken, hearing the desperation that no one ever answered. The sound carved into him, each word like a scar reopened. He gripped the phone tight, whispering, "I never left you, but you left me." His hands shook, the voicemail ending with silence that stretched endlessly. For a moment he considered deleting it, erasing proof of weakness, but instead he replayed it, forcing himself to hear the truth. The voice was his, younger and bleeding, and it reminded him of every night he fought alone. His jaw clenched as he whispered, "You survived," the words shaky but real, directed at the boy in the recording. Rain hammered the city outside as Ethan stood by his window, forehead pressed to the cold glass. Lights from passing cars blurred into streaks, the world moving without him. He whispered, "Everyone keeps going, whether I break or not." His reflection stared back, eyes hollow, but beneath the exhaustion there was still a flicker, small, fragile, alive. He thought of every betrayal, every silence, every night he begged for air. The storm outside mirrored his storm within, relentless but temporary. He raised his hand to the glass, watching raindrops trace paths like veins. His breath fogged the pain, fading as quickly as it formed. He whispered, "I don't know if I can, but I will try." The words dissolved into the night, swallowed by rain, but they lingered in his chest like the faintest ember refusing to die out. He returned to his journal, flipping to a fresh page with trembling fingers. Pen hovered, then pressed down, ink bleeding into paper. "I am scarred, but I am still breathing." His handwriting shook, but he forced each letter into existence. He paused, staring at the words, uncertain if he believed them. His chest rose and fell, each breath uneven but deliberate. He closed his eyes, whispering, "This will not end me." The silence of the room seemed to lean in, listening, as if acknowledging his defiance. His hand lingered on the page, smudging the ink with his sleeve. It wasn't clean, it wasn't triumphant, but it was real. He shut the journal, sliding it beneath his pillow like a secret he chose to keep close this time. The act felt small, fragile, but for him it was enough to keep breathing through the night. The night ended in silence, Ethan lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house around him was dark, the city outside hushed after rain. His chest rose slowly, breath uneven but present. He whispered one final line into the stillness, "I exist." The words lingered in the air, fragile but undeniable. His eyes closed, not in peace but in exhaustion, the storm inside him quiet for now. No triumph, no applause, only the steady rhythm of survival. The image of broken glass, unanswered calls, and unspoken truths lingered in his mind, but so did the act of writing, of breathing, of refusing to vanish. He curled into himself, not to hide, but to rest. The silence remained heavy, but for the first time, it did not suffocate. It simply existed with him. And in that fragile coexistence, he found the faintest thread of dignity to hold on to.